Everybody, and welcome to our SPMP meeting. Unfortunately, we're back to having to perform in a mixed model. So I see you all up there. I've checked everybody's sound. We can all hear you, and as at a few minutes ago, you could hear us. So hopefully that doesn't change, but welcome everybody. You all have your agenda before you. Let's start from the top. Oh goodness, we've got an echo going on in here. Oh, that's quite terrible, hearing yourself, isn't it? Okay, should we start off with the apologies? I don't believe there are any. So we shall move on. Disclosure of members' interests. Have we any interests that anybody would like to?
Madam Chair, plan change 13, item 9. T6 is where I live, so I'll declare an interest there and vacate for that discussion.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Jim. Okay, we'll note that down. Thank you. Late items. Nobody else with anything there. So late items. I'm not aware of there being any. No, great. So we'll move on then to the confirmation of the order of the meeting. I understand it's as is written. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Happy to move.
I've noted it here. Yeah. You happy to move, Mike?
Yes.
And Lou can second that. All those in favour, say aye. Against? Carried. So that moves us on then to the confirmation of the minutes from our previous meeting. So on page 8 of our agenda. If we can just do our usual, I'll call the page numbers, and if there's something wrong, let me know. So page 8 and 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Everybody's comfortable with those? Excellent. So can I have somebody who attended that meeting move that they're true and correct? Miriata and Graham, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now, moving us on then to our first significant or substantive item, which is the Community Services Quarterly Report. Take the chair, Sally. Good morning.
Morning, everyone. Just in terms of my quarterly report is up to the 31st of December 2020, I'd just like to mention the following highlights. So unfortunately, we are experiencing some minor damage within our public toilets, which the team are trying to keep on top of, but also monitoring this. So it is just people, for some reason, just deciding they want to smash things more than anything. So we are just keeping a monitoring on this, and just if there are any trends coming through, if we need to do replacements, obviously trying to do that with stronger equipment, but it is smashing things like the soap dispensers and those sort of things, which is what we really need during these times as well. So that is something that the team is monitoring. Also attached within the report is a refresh that we've completed of the Centennial Park concept plan. And this has been essentially done to include the on-site developments that have happened on the park. So there were some things that just didn't align with the previous concept plan we had done for Centennial Park. It also takes into account, and I know that Councillor Gower has been in touch and worked with community representatives who are looking at fundraising for an upgrade of the pump track and the skate park on site. So we have worked with those community representatives to ensure that we've got their ideas within that concept plan as well. So the plan itself has been through the Te Awamutu Community Board, is simply a refresh of what we have on site, and the Te Community Board did support and did have Regan McFall there from the community come and talk to them and highlight what his aspirations are. So that's a great community project that we are working with and trying to continue there. Also, during this upcoming quarter, there will be a removal in mid-March of a large gum tree off Shakespeare Street. So that's between Shakespeare Street and the river in Cambridge. So there will be some traffic management, which you will see happen in the middle of March. As you're also aware, back in November, Te Awamutu was hit by a heavy rain event, and there's some photos within my report that identify the damage or what happened at Te Awamutu Library. It was great to see the team take off the shoes and get the mops out and clean that up relatively quickly, and there was no significant damage there for us, which was great. At the end of last year, we rolled out a new library catalogue because the existing catalogue came to the end of its life, and the team were able to include a children's book catalogue as part of that process, and that has been well received by our community. We also appointed 3 community librarians prior to Christmas through the National Library funding that we have received. And just a reminder that these community librarians have just really got underway, and they will be supporting our communities through digital literacy, reading, and general COVID-19 recovery programs. So they're just getting their feet under the desk at the moment in terms of how they can support the community, and working with our community advisors, and I think there's an update also further on your agenda around that. There were 985 new users of the Te Arawai Journeys webpage over this quarter, and most recently we did have a significant spike of users on Waitangi weekend with over 550 plus visits on that one day, so that was really great for us to see that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, burial numbers continue to track below 2019-2020 numbers, but our ash interments are tracking at the same level. And, you know, during this period, it is a few months ago, we're keeping on top of the spring flush that we had at the time. The TA Parks team, Cambridge Parks and Libraries team also featured in our Christmas parades. They had a great time, and I think this is a great way to be involved in local community events as well. So good to see our plant and equipment dressed up in its Christmas colours. So I'm happy to take any other questions that you have on the report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sally. Once again,
yes, Susan, I've got my hand up.
Okay, Hazel and then Claire.
Yes. Hi. Good morning. Good morning, Sally. Great work that you do, and I think, but you know the question that I'm going to ask you, because we talked. I sent you a message yesterday. Nothing there on the Turata Reserve. Now I had a look at it because some of the residents had said to me, "Go and have a look at it." The meadow grass thing isn't working, is it? And so did you go and have a look at it? And it looks worse than it ever did. It looked better with the cattle on it than it does now. So and that's just such a shame, because we know there's a lot of work going into progressing something there at that reserve. But yeah, it doesn't look too good.
So if I came through the chair, and thank you, Councillor Barnes, for the question yesterday. And yes, I have been out and had a look on site with the team. So as you may remember, in terms of the works that we were doing at Turata, it was to create a meadow park look. And I think we just need to recognise that due to the historic nature of the reserves, the reserve is protected by New Zealand heritage, and during our works we were unable to disturb the soil with that park. So while the works have largely been completed, and there are some things such as signage that we do still need to do on site, the team is regularly mowing walkways and paths into the grass, and we do a topping of the longer grass or the meadow effect, but it is going to take us a couple of seasons to get through the grass to actually establish and grow. We haven't been able to undersow it, so that's why it's looking a little bit scrappy at the moment. So this is really the first summer, and with the drought, I would say that's why there's a few gaps in it. Look a little bit messy. So I think just recognising that this approach is going to take us a few seasons to get the look upright, and that we are managing the weeds on site as well. So it will take us a little bit of time to get that really nice meadow approach that we do have in the Oak Arboretum in Cambridge. So very much appreciate the concerns, and the team are working on that approach, but we do need to recognise that the site can't actually disturb the soil, and therefore we're working in a little bit more tricky circumstances than normal.
Thank you, Sally. It's quite interesting, isn't it? I'll explain that to everybody, but that the cows and the horses and the sheep were all allowed to stick their hooves and other things all over it, and yet these instructions are what we have to abide by. But look, thank you. You do a great job. It's looking good with all the fences down and everything set out anyway. Thank you.
And in just response through the chair to that, Councillor Barnes, I think Heritage NZ, when we did meet on site with them, did prefer that the animals were off the site because of the degradation they were doing. So wasn't ideal on all fronts, unfortunately.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Hazel. Claire.
Morena, Sally. I have a question about the new Pirongia public toilets. The building itself looks great, but I thought there was going to be some sort of screen that there would be between the road and the entrance to the toilets. I'm sure it was in the concept, because, you know, like I see people waiting outside the toilets, and it just seems to be like there's a direct entrance into the toilet. It's like there's just one door, you know, and I'm sure there was going to be some kind of any sort of permeable screen or something.
So through the chair, maybe what I'll do is I'll go back and have a look at the designs and see what was planned, and if there's reasons for it's not been installed or it wasn't planned. So let me get back to you on that one. Yep.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah. Philip.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Sally, for your report. The Oaks Lifestyle Village on Swain Road, there was concerns from the residents and management about the long grass along the swale there up against the expressway. And I believe that was getting mowed a couple of weeks ago, but it hasn't been mowed. They thought there was a real fire risk there, but personally I don't think there is, but it does look pretty untidy. And then yesterday, the manager rang me yesterday about there's a huge amount of field mice and rats on there where the Coomera pits are, but also where the swale is. I mean, that must be common everywhere, but is that common everywhere, or is there something we can do with that? Or
through the chair, I think there are not only mice, there is quite a significant rabbit challenge in that area at the moment. And I think we would have seen previously last year there was comments around Hautapu rugby and the issue with rabbits, and I think there's over 1,500 shot on the farmland around Hautapu rugby grounds. So I think there is, you know, with drought and breeding, obviously there is a bit of a challenge around there at the moment. In terms of that mowing, I'll definitely look at it. I know that there is a resident who's recently touched base with us around some concerns of that area, so it is something that we will look at, but there is also mowing most probably on the expressway that needs to happen as well, which is outside our jurisdiction too. So the challenge with the pests is that there is only so much we can do on a strip of land, and if the farmers next door or the landowners next door aren't doing the same, we just don't make any headway with it.
the next door neighbours are the expressway in that particular case, but also if you put poison around, you've got dogs and cats and stuff.
So no, I'll have a look at the mowing again. Thank you.
Thank you. No, Graham.
Yeah, Sally, I've been biking there every morning. The whole place moves. The rabbits are incredible, unbelievable. I believe they've shot 1,000 back on the farming there. It's terrific. I don't believe yesterday morning when I biked, that hadn't been mown, but I don't think you can get a tractor in there because they've got security fencing while they've been doing where the stormwater goes. And then at the other end, you've got Joe's Garage, which is another cafe being built at the Oaks. And it's difficult to get in and out with a bike. You'd never get a tractor in there. I think that's probably why it hasn't gone ahead, Philip. I noticed what you were talking about here. Yeah, I think that's what we get.
Mike.
Thank you, through the chair. Good morning, Sally. Hey, just a question around, and I could pronounce this incorrectly, but Godot Road up the top of Manga Kawa there. And it's just investigate options to stop or install gates, basically. I was up there on Sunday morning, walked up there, and there was just skid marks all up the road leading into that area also. So yeah, just, I know we've met with residents, I know some of the councillors have, but just an update on progress there, please.
Thank you, and through the chair, obviously we're referring to Pukimako Reserve at the tops of Guddocks Road, or otherwise known as Senatorium Hill. I think it has a few names. So the team are currently looking at options. So we have had discussions with the neighbouring land properties as well as Ngāti Hoa, recognising that this is a joint management site. And so we were looking at options of road stopping because it is a public road. But at the moment, the neighbours have requested cameras to be installed on site, as well as some other measures. So the team are currently progressing with that, and we do hope to get those works done within this financial year. So we are working on and doing some of those measures. It is a preference at the moment to do that ahead of road stopping, which would then allow us to put a gate onto the park. And doing the road stopping does require public consultation, easements, etc. for those landowners. So we're still working through those options and also working with Ngāti Hoa on that as well. So progress has been made, but unfortunately it does appear to be one of our known sites where people do go at night time, do the burnouts, but it is not our only site across the district. And unfortunately, they're also leaving quite a bit of rubbish behind, which the team are picking up, but it is a weekly service on that site. Okay, yeah.
Yep, thank you for that. Yeah, right. So this side of the financial year, yeah, look, on that and rubbish, they absolutely do drop rubbish everywhere. Yeah, I won't go on, but yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Philip.
Thank
and
you.
then Mariata.
And on Guddocks Road, I think I reported to you about the fence. Vehicle went through the gardeners fence, and Chris sent me the photos, which I think I forwarded on to you too a few weeks ago, which has been repaired now. So.
Mariata.
Morena tātou. Kia ora, Sally. Thank you so much again for your report. And just a couple of questions I have. So the wharepaku, or the toilet areas that are getting targeted, are they the same ones getting targeted or different?
They tend to be in different locations. So one of our regular hit location is down here at the warehouse car park. So we did have to close that for a couple of weeks just to get new things replaced or parts in to replace that. But at the moment, that's what we're trying to monitor, because it seems to be a little bit random across the district, but not everywhere. So, yeah.
Okay. Has any discussion been made around security cameras or anything like that?
So within the toilets, that is a little bit of a challenge around the privacy side of things.
Sorry,
but
outside.
Yeah, obviously not inside.
Sorry.
We don't have a lot of security cameras across our parks, and there is obviously a price and a cost too for CCTV monitoring. So we're looking at some other areas that are more high profile at the moment. So Te Awamutu Cemetery is one where we're regularly getting after hours antisocial behaviour there. So we're looking at that site and also Pukimako. Most probably they would be ahead of the list at the moment compared to the minor damage in the toilets for the cost of it.
Fantastic. Because that was my second question. It was around the statement you've written to do with the cemetery. So same sort of disorderly behaviour, etc.
Yes, unfortunately it is, and it is obviously with the Te Awamutu Cemetery, we are working or have contacted the police around that, and they are doing regular drive-bys in terms of that area. But once again, it is it seems to be a place that people go at night time and hang out, essentially. Yeah.
Thank you. Just the last couple of questions, just to do with the redraft of the plan, the Centennial Park plan. I see there is Otawhaupa is located within that vicinity, and there's some interpretive signage and other signage that will be included. Has consideration being made to put, historical information there for Otawhaupa?
Yes, so last month we did bring the park signage. So that would obviously follow that process in terms of signage when we get funding for that. And there is work underway at the moment around that interpretation and dual naming. So it would be included within that. The refresh itself doesn't actually include the funding to implement. So once we get that opportunity, then we would look at doing that, yes.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all from me. Kia ora.
Thanks, Mariata. Mike, you look like you have another question.
Yeah, sorry, it's just a clarifying question, Sally, and maybe you could phone us back during break time if you can't answer it now. That Pukemakua solution around a camera, is that a joint cost with council and landowners, etc., or a council looking at funding that?
I think that is council is looking at funding that through the chair. Yep.
Thank you.
Great. I think that looks like that's about it in terms of questions from the members. Thank you once again, Sally. Great report. So we have a recommendation there on page 14 to receive your report. Can I have somebody move that? Phil, and second by Elwyn. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thanks, Sally. So that moves us on to our next item, which is the Ngahanapōuri Village Concept Plan approval to consult. And I think we should have Justine via Zoom. I can see you, Justine. Can you? Yes, nice waving. Welcome.
Morena, welcome. Hi, lovely to be here virtually. Yes, so Ngahanapōuri, this has been a labour of love for some time. We last brought this to you September last year, and we've kept you updated with what's happened since then in terms of being contacted by some key landowners in that area who were keen for us to investigate some alternative intersection options, which we have subsequently done, and now we have 6 intersection options instead of 5, which we had brought to you previously, that we would now like to go to the wider community. I'd really like to stress that we've worked very closely with the Ngahanapōuri community group, with the Coombs family and their representatives, with Waka Kotahi, with the Ministry of Education, and also particularly with Haupai Puke of Purekereke Marae, who is the representative that was put forward by Ngāwi Tōpu with regards to iwi matters. So yeah, I guess I take the report as read otherwise, and certainly happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thanks very much, Justine. I just want to kick off by saying I'm really pleased to see that we're being responsive to the community's requests and throwing out ideas that come from the community. I think it's a really great example of us working in a reflective manner rather than just bulldozing ahead and doing what we kind of think's right, and we kind of need to do more of that. So it's a great example, right? Any questions or comments for Justine? Bruce.
Justine, thank you. Congratulations to you and the team. I suppose I go back as maybe before Claire when we started this, and a few disruptions, big disruptions. And some of the staff are back. I don't know if they're still staff members anymore. That's how far we go back. But my question is there any concession from the Coombs family for helping us out? There's going to be some big costs with that if we go the 3-legged roundabout. How are they placed with that? Any offerings?
They were certainly the ones who brought that initial concept to us. We haven't had a discussion around any sort of financial inputs and how that would be split. We're perhaps a little too far up the road for that conversation just yet, I'm afraid. Yeah, so I couldn't give you an answer on that one. We haven't had those discussions yet.
Liz and then Claire.
Thanks, Justine. I think you've done a great job. I know it hasn't been the easiest of circumstances for you and your team. Hey, in terms of the collaboration we see going forward, and especially over the public consultation that we're going to be doing now, the face-to-face meetings. I know you haven't necessarily committed to anything, but it would be good as the final decision makers on this. Can you please let us know when and if there are going to be any of those public meetings? Because that's probably where as councillors we'll hear any concerns or any you know, sometimes it's difficult to pull that stuff out of a report. So I think there are a few of us that would probably like to be there in person if possible. So yeah, just keep us updated. Thanks.
Not a problem. I can verbally advise, I definitely know we've got one on the 10th of March, and I understand we've also got another drop-in session scheduled for a weekend day. And that was based on advice we received from the Ngahanapori community group and the Coombs family as to what times and days would best suit that community. But I will certainly forward the invitations on to councillors as well. Thank you.
Claire.
Yeah, and I'd just like to echo all those congratulations to Justine and Kirsty and the whole team, because it has been quite a process. It's looking really good, and I'm really hoping that the public consultation that we get is going to be well attended, and we do get some really good feedback so we can move ahead with confidence. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Have we any other comments, questions? Nobody in Zoom land, nobody around the table. I think that's about it. So we have the two recommendations there appearing on page 34 and 35 to receive Justine's report, and then secondly to approve the concept plan for public engagement. Claire's happy to move. Bruce will second. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Justine. Pass our thanks along to the team.
Thank you.
Now, moving on to our next item, our favourite economist of all time, Brad Olsen.